guys, it's me Beau, back once again with another cult movie review. I hope everyone is doing well. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing Michael Cimino's controversial western, Heaven's Gate. To say this movie was an epic piece of cinema would be an understatement. I've admired the film for many years now, and I've never really agreed with the criticism the film's received. I have a lot to say on the matter, so let's get into it. Oh, and don't forget guys, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. So, Heaven's Gate from 1980 marked Michael Cimino's third feature film as director, following the success of The Deer Hunter from 1979. At the time, Cimino was riding high from the success of his Oscar win for The Deer Hunter, and the movie studio United Artists were very excited about his next project. But Cimino's next film would ultimately be savaged by the critics upon its release. So I saw this movie many years ago on DVD back in the early 2000s. I remember my media studies teacher at the time mentioning the movie in class randomly, and I was intrigued. At the time, Heaven's Gate was not available on Region 2 DVD, so having no UK release, I had to order an online copy from the States. Anyways, it eventually came in the post, and sat down, watched it, and it was a epic movie experience, to say the least. Now, there's a lot going on with the story, so to summarise, Heaven's Gate followed the character James Averill, played by Kris Kristofferson. Averill was the marshal of Johnson County, Wyoming, where he lived with his French girlfriend, Ella Watson, played by the actress Isabelle Huppert. Ella was a madam, running a bordello where she would often accept cattle as a way of payment. She gave off this impression that she was harmless, but in reality, she could fight her own battles. The gunslinger Nate Champion, played by actor Christopher Walken, was also romantically linked with Ella, which sets up this whole love triangle between them all. Champion was a friend of Averill's, so that added a whole deeper level of betrayal to the whole situation. Separately to all of this, a death list which targeted many immigrant farmers had been issued by the wealthy cattle ranchers. The news quickly travelled through the county and, of course, spread fear among the residents. Kristofferson's character, Averill, later found out that Ella's name was also included on the list, and so he encouraged her to leave Wyoming before it was too late. This all eventually led to an epic battle between the immigrant settlers and the mercenary army. Guns were firing, horses were charging, lives were being lost on both sides. Just a very brutal battle. There's no denying that it was impressively staged, with the camera capturing some amazing visuals throughout. It felt very authentic, almost as if the cameramen had gone back in time and filmed the actual event as it happened. Now, I don't know the exact number of days, but clearly this sequence took a long time to film. To execute such a major scene like that would have been difficult for the most seasoned director, so absolute credit to all those involved. One of the most defining features Heaven's Gate has to offer is its truly wonderful cinematography by the late Vilmos Zsigmond. While the cinematographer has had a lengthy career in the film industry, producing some stunning work, when it comes to Heaven's Gate, the imagery that he produced was truly remarkable. I really just can't stress enough just how well this movie looks, and arguably perhaps one of the greatest looking movies ever put to screen. Now, I recently purchased the Heaven's Gate Blu-ray for the first time, and seeing it again after all those years, but this time in high resolution, was just an amazing experience. At times with certain shots, it was almost like a picture had come to life. It was that beautiful. Now, some of you may know already, there are a lot of stories coming out of the production of Heaven's Gate that heavily criticised Michael Cimino and his ways in which he was directing the movie. It was reported that Cimino, on several different occasions, delayed the filming due to poor lighting or poor weather conditions. Cimino had specific imagery in mind that he wanted to capture on film, and so he didn't hesitate in waiting or delaying things to make sure he got the right shots, even if that meant wasting time or the movie studio's money. So with the pressure off, Sigmund, the cinematographer, was able to give extra time and attention to the imagery that he was creating for the film. Now, of course, I understand the criticisms that Cimino faced along with the other producers. Among them, the mistreatment of animals during filming and the mismanagement of money that led to the movie studio United Artists going bankrupt. That stuff can't be excused. Cimino made several poor decisions and had major miscommunication with the studio. He and many others were to blame for how things turned out. But through all of the bad, the end result was a remarkable looking Western that stands the test of time. Through all the obstacles, Cimino persevered and was able to deliver an outstanding piece of cinema. He gets criticised, but I give him credit. I give credit to Cimino because ultimately he had a vision and he had the determination to see it through. Besides the visual brilliance and the whole grand scope of Heaven's Gate, the film also featured an amazing soundtrack by composer David Mansfield. His soothing and somber material really lifted the film's overall mood and spirit. The music often blended so well with the stunning imagery on screen. It really was the perfect combination. Now, the legendary John Williams, who we all know and love, was originally asked to provide the score before he declined and Mansfield was hired. Now, I think John Williams is, of course, extremely talented. He's provided some classic soundtracks over the years, but I feel he wouldn't have been right for Heaven's Gate. I could be wrong, but I just get the impression that John Williams would have likely provided a more conventional and dramatic soundscape that you would expect to hear in westerns. Mansfield's softer approach was the right one and gave the story a lot more depth. And so, dislikes for Heaven's Gate 1980. My main dislike for the film would have to be its length. Now, I know it's become a bit of a cliche to criticise Heaven's Gate for its length, but it was detrimental to the film and it can't be ignored. I love Heaven's Gate. I think it deserves more praise than it gets, but this was a long movie, and in fact it was too long and kind of ruined the viewer's experience. Now, I've already mentioned that one of the main positives that Heaven's Gate has to offer is its wonderful authentic look and feel. Clearly a lot of time and energy went into capturing such stunning footage. While I loved all of that, I do feel that too much time was spent on showcasing the locations, which led to a significant amount of narrative and tension that was lost in the process. I mean, the movie ran for over 3.5 hours. You know, I'm all for indulging in some great storytelling and cinematography, but a tighter edit was needed. You know, let me clarify, I really did like the long drawn out sequences. It really helped us, the audience, understand the characters more. I just think that certain aspects needed to be either trimmed back or completely removed to help the film's overall pace. Like the opening sequence, the graduation at Oxford, for me, that whole thing was not essential to the story. It was this grandiose moment with all these students dancing in unison in circles. I mean, it was, once again, clearly a lot of time and effort and attention had been put into capturing and creating that sequence. But was it really necessary? Watching that sequence again and just knowing how much of the rest of the film that we had to go, I kind of feel that the graduation scene really didn't need to be there. And I think it may have just been better if the film had started with Christopherson's character, Averill, arriving in Wyoming. Now, in post-production, Cimino took it upon himself to edit the film without any involvement from the movie studio. This, of course, led to more issues between the director and United Artists, but ultimately Cimino was not budging. It was his vision, his baby, and he didn't want to let anyone else tamper with his creation. Now, I have experience in editing, and to think about sitting down for days, weeks, editing such, momentous, project like Heaven's Gate, it's a big task for anyone. A fresh set of eyes helping Cimino in the editing room would have been beneficial to him, but I guess he had kind of tunnel vision. It was going to be him or no one else. It is what it is, but I just wish Cimino was more open to suggestions. And so, ratings for Heaven's Gate 1980. I'm going to be rating this movie a strong 8.5 out of 10. Heaven's Gate is one of the last great masterpieces of American cinema that I do believe will be celebrated by future generations. There's no denying that the media were completely unfair in their criticism of the film, which led to Heaven's Gate being branded a box office failure for many years. And it has to be said that upon Heaven's Gate, coming out, it kind of ruined, or definitely hindered, Michael Cimino's career. He, of course, went on to make some other films, including Year of the Dragon, a movie starring Mickey Rourke that I've reviewed on this channel. But his name definitely carried a lot of baggage, unwanted baggage. I heard about this movie and its issues and, all the craziness surrounding the movie before I ever actually sat down and watched it. By the time I actually watched it, of course it isn't perfect, and as I said, the main thing is the length, but no one can deny it's an absolute masterpiece. It really is a superb effort in filmmaking. Cimino put all of his efforts into producing a potent, meditative Western, which I would describe as outstanding. As I said, it's not perfect and my rating reflects that, but Heaven's Gate really is a unique piece of filmmaking. It's a one-of-a-kind film, and it's not like any other Western I've seen. The attention to detail, the visuals, the mood that was created, props to Cimino, because for me, even though it was a long film, I definitely got something out of it. The movie just deserves more praise. People don't really criticize films like Lawrence of Arabia or Citizen Kane. Wow, what these great, amazing movies. And, they are. But Heaven's Gate should be you know, listed along those titles. I mean, it's that much of a great film. The media just killed it, you know, and it's a great example of how, you know, the media can turn against you, so to speak. I mean, Cimino was loved by the critics upon the release of The Deer Hunter, but, you know, a year and a half, 2 years later, he was hated. And listen, I'm all for, you know, someone getting criticised, but it was unfair, like I've mentioned. I mean, so many people have said this, and it becomes more and more apparent as the years go on and as more people, even a younger audience, see this film for the first time. It has a lot going for it, has a lot to offer. Yes, it's long, but it's worth your time. And yeah, the critics were wrong about this one. If you're watching this and you haven't seen it yet, I recommend it. It's definitely worth your time, but of course, be aware it is long. So prepare yourself to indulge for 3.5 hours. But that said, you know, it's like a perfect Sunday afternoon movie after you've just eaten dinner and, you know, kind of relaxing. As I said, it's got a very calm nature about it. So yeah, a unique Western, and yeah, recommended from me. Well, that's all from me today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video. It's been nice to reminisce about this great movie. And for all those that have seen it but not seen it in a while, I would recommend getting the Blu-ray, because that was quite something to see it in, you know, high definition for the first time. Anyways, I'll be back next week with more reviews. Take care, guys. All the very best.